WNBA Draft ratings are officially in, and boy, oh boy, do we have some things to talk about.
Whether or not Paige Bueckers is a star or a draw, that remains to be seen. Judging by the ratings for the Dump Diver Draft the other night, Paige Bueckers is not a mainstream draw yet. WNBA drew 1.3 million viewers the other night for the draft on ESPN. Now, that number, it can be credited 100% to Paige Bueckers because every other player involved was completely unknown.
A great college player, like Caitlin was, the delusional fan base that follows her disrespected the WNBA players by saying she's going to go in that league and tear it apart. There were actually odds on she's third or fourth in betting odds on being MVP at the WNBA.
Few months, the mainstream media, they have tried to convince us that Paige Bueckers is a draw. Me personally, I think she's a star, but I'm not exactly convinced that she is a draw.
When the overnight Nielsen numbers rolled in, league execs stared at the spreadsheet like it had just trashed a bracket. 1.25 million. That was the average audience for the 2025 WNBA Draft, good enough for silver in the record books, but light years from the golden height Caitlin Clark dragged the event to 12 months earlier. Almost half the eyeballs vanished, and the vanishing act couldn't be pinned on a late tip-off or a rival blockbuster on another network. Fans quite simply chose something else. The glowing hype machine that had spent spring screaming Paige Bueckers is coming sputtered, and the ratings dashboard turned into a lie detector nobody could unplug. For weeks, ESPN hammered the second highest draft ever line, proudly stacking 2025 over 2023 as proof the league's arrow still pointed skyward. They left 2024 out of the press release because 2.45 million versus 1.25 million doesn't make a tidy upward arrow, it sketches a cliff. Twitter, predictably ruthless, caught the creative math in minutes. Funny how 2024 vanished like a bad ex. One post snarked, racking up 86,000 likes before midnight. No Caitlin, no ratings, a forward autopsy the servers couldn't throttle. Yet calling the night a failure ignores the obvious. Paige Bueckers is nobody's consolation prize. She walked onto the Brooklyn stage with the kind of poise that makes executives see Billboard mock UPS in their sleep. UConn's surgeon-precise scorer, fresh off averaging 20 a night and shredding defensive rotations like wrapping paper, now belongs to the Dallas Wings. The league wants her rise to look seamless. Clark hands off the baton, Bueckers sprints into the spotlight, everyone cashes in, but gravity rarely cooperates. Charisma refuses to be scheduled, and audiences carry long memories. That inconvenient memory is what keeps circling back to draft night 2024. The evening Clark turned a procedural selection show into appointment television. She had no blue blood pedigree, no dynasty coach applauding from the front row, just a jump shot from another zip code and a swagger that made highlight producers dizzy. The result, 2.45 million viewers averaged, 3.09 million at the spike, more than 300% higher than anything the draft had seen since Diana Taurasi still used dial-up. The W called it a watershed. Advertisers called it proof of concept. Geno Auriemma? He called it delusion. The Hall of Famer's critique came last summer, but the quote still circulates every time Clark's face lands in a thumbnail. Her fans are so unknowledgeable and so disrespectful, it gives women's basketball a bad name. It wasn't delivered with malice. Geno's trademark is a sly grin that coats barbs and honey. Still, his words lodged in the discourse like a shard of glass. Suddenly, the conversation was less about how Clark changed the sport and more about whether her supporters deserve a seat at the table. When your influence cuts attendance records in half, people will debate the size and shape of your throne, and Geno's never been shy about rearranging the chairs. Paige Bueckers entered that arena carrying her own halo and Geno's eternal endorsement. To be fair, she earned both. She survived knee complications, rebuilt her explosiveness, dragged UConn back to the summit, then delivered a championship that left broadcasters gasping about storybook symmetry. Her NIL portfolio already reads like a Fortune 500 sampler platter. On talent and marketability alone, she checks every box the W searches for when it starts designing the next era's marquee. But fandom isn't a checklist. It's lightning, and lightning is exponentially harder to bottle when another storm still rumbles on the horizon. The viewership gap became the first crack in the crafted narrative. Paige's draft night, by any rational metric, was a triumph, historic second place, peak numbers that dwarf most NHL regular season games. But the raw comparison to 2024 roared louder than reason. It confirmed a suspicion thousands of casual viewers confessed after their lone 2024 fever watch party. They tuned in for Clark, stayed for Clark, and will wander off if she's not on the docket. That brand of gravitational pull is rare outside the LeBron-era NBA, and denying it only amplifies it. Media outlets, unwilling to relinquish the storyline they'd spent months scripting, pivoted. Headlines morphed from record-setting night awaits to Bueckers' era begins with strong showing. Words like strong and solid replaced historic. The spin was smooth, but the undertone of scrambling was impossible to miss. Meanwhile, talk radio hosts compiled side-by-side stat packages. Clark's senior year, 31.6 points, 8.9 dimes, nightly heat check from the logo. Bueckers, 21.9 points, 3.8 assists, surgical footwork, but modest raw volume. One looked like Steph Curry and Steve Nash fused together. The other looked spectacular, yet human. That's not a fault. Basketball has room for multiple archetypes. The problem emerges when coverage treats one archetype like a troublesome cousin while rolling out the red carpet for the other. Clark's competitive scowl becomes polarizing. Bueckers' stoic focus becomes poised. Clark's three-point bombs are questioned for shot selection. Bueckers' mid-range mastery is applauded as pure. Viewers sense the double standard even if they can't quote AP style. The more it shows up on their feed, the more they push back, and that backlash snowballs into hashtags the league's PR command center can't mute. Scroll any social platform the night after the draft, and you could trace the battle lines. Hashtag Paige era trended first, a wave of UConn loyalists and sneaker deal hype. Then hashtag Clark effect bulldozed in, posting comparative graphs and reminding everyone second place is still second. Somewhere in the crossfire, the league's ambition, two women sharing, even expanding the spotlight, got lost. The algorithm rewards conflict. Synergy doesn't sell pre-roll ads nearly as well. Behind the numbers and tweets lurks the financial dimension executives care about most. Television partners calibrate rights bids on consistent viewership, not isolated spikes. Ad agencies tie seven-figure campaigns to guarantee demographic reach. When Clark's presence adds an automatic million viewers, brands write clauses that trigger bonuses if her games hit primetime. Those clauses now sit in fresh contracts labeled Clark Uplifts. Conversely, early talk from brand managers suggests rookie deals for Bueckers have conservative escalators until she proves she can move jerseys outside Connecticut. It's not personal, it's actuarial science. That calculus also shaped the 2025 national TV schedule. The Indiana Fever landed 18 appearances on linear networks, up from last season's 12, because programmers know a Clark game will juice numbers even if the Fever drop 10 straight. Dallas, despite owning the #1 pick, received 9. It's a cold-blooded decision that underscores the reality. Entertainment dollars chase results, not potential. Paige has every tool to rewrite that math, but the clock already started. The disparity brings us to Geno again, never far from the microphone when the topic swirls around his protege. He insists the delusional fanbase comment wasn't petty, just honest context. Maybe so, yet its echo gave oxygen to a theory that refuses to die. That certain power brokers in the women's game are uneasy conceding the throne to someone they didn't groom. UConn's dynasty is a fortress. An upstart from Iowa crashing the gates challenges decades of hierarchy and influence. People entrenched in that hierarchy aren't quick to wave the surrender flag. None of this needs to devolve into dystopia. In a perfect script, Clark and Bueckers would become the bird magic of a new generation. Styles clashing, personalities colliding, mutual respect forging epic showdowns. They embody complementary facades of excellence. Caitlin the audacious gunslinger, Paige the calculated surgeon. Together they could keep televisions lit from May through October and push the salary cap into the stratosphere. But rivalries thrive on authenticity, not orchestration. The public can smell a manufactured feud like week-old leftovers, and they'll leave it on the counter. The broader stakes reach beyond two superstars. College sensation Juju Watkins lurks in next year's draft queue. IL-driven teenagers already command six-figure TikTok followings before stepping on campus. The league is sprinting toward an inflection point where household names arrive pre-packaged with endorsement armies. If institutional voices can't figure out how to spotlight them without kneecapping the ones who came before, fans will bounce to whatever sport treats its idols with fewer caveats. Viewership trends are rarely reversible once they nosedive. Money men recognize the pattern. Last autumn, several sponsors inserted flex clauses into WNBA deals, allowing ad spend to balloon or shrink week to week based on live ratings. It's a hedge and a warning. Consistency sells. Spike and drop cycles scare the DMN accountants. And right now, the graph looks like a heart monitor, towering when Clark headlines, dipping when she doesn't. Bueckers' challenge is to flatten that ECG into one continuous high plateau, something even icons like Maya Moore and Candace Parker couldn't sustain without rival star power sharing the lift. She took the first step in Dallas, wiping tears as Commissioner Kathy Engelbert called her name. The moment crackled with genuine emotion, the kind that turns rookie cards into collector's gold. Social clips of her hugging family popped 1 million views before she even changed hats. That visceral connection is a seed. The nurturing requires narrative soil-free of hidden landmines. If every Bueckers highlight is immediately dunked on by Clark stands quoting ratings, both camps lose. The league hemorrhages casuals who came for inspiration, not tribal warfare. Yet the tribal lines keep sharpening because the broadcast and clickbait economy dangles incentives. A gentle profile of 2 great athletes cooperating nets average engagement. A headline screaming Bueckers steals Clark's throne, triples the shares. Outlets chase the spike, and fans get served daily reminders that someone somewhere said their favorite isn't good enough. The resulting echo chamber breeds extremists on both sides, drowning moderate voices that admire both crossover stepbacks and mid-range daggers. Caught in a maelstrom are rookies like Cameron Brink, once advertised as the future until the algorithm pivoted, and veterans such as Aya Wilson, quietly stacking MVP trophies while the zeitgeist scrolls elsewhere. Their frustration surfaces in cryptic posts and sideline glances that body language experts dissect frame by frame. They understand Star Wars sell tickets, but they also know unstable fan allegiance wrecks morale in a locker room that needs unity to survive 32 city road slogs and back-to-backs in charter flights still rumored, not guaranteed. That tension seeped into draft night itself. Compare the production to 2024, and the downgrade is stark. Last year featured cinematic player vignettes, crane shots sweeping across neon-bathed crowds, sideline reporters primed with pronunciation guides. This year's set felt like a daytime game show. Interviewers bungled names. The house band killed any momentum with elevator jazz riffs, and the energy in the green room resembled an after-lunch slump. Fans watching at home noticed. The group chat consensus, they know they can't replicate the Clark show, so they stop trying. That vibe translates to lost retention minutes, and the algorithm punishes minutes. Could the league have staged a spectacle anyway? Absolutely. Paige's story checks every dramatic box. Overcoming injury, returning to glory, blessed by a coaching titan. But spectacle requires conviction, and perhaps the suits feared comparisons they couldn't control. Better to scale down expectations than risk headlines reading ratings still down. Ironically, that caution birthed the exact narrative they dreaded. In media strategy, hesitation often looks like guilt. So where does the W go now? The 2025 regular season slate doubled national exposures, but distribution favors one franchise. Indiana-centric scheduling injects juice early, yet oversaturation can dull mystique if the Fever stumble. Dallas, sensing a slight, already leaked teasers of Paige vs. Kate summer showdowns to finagle flex broadcasts. Seattle boosters, smelling opportunity, trumpet their own rookie phenom Isaiah James and petition for more windows. The tug-of-war could splinter momentum before Memorial Day. Fans meanwhile vote with screen time. A viewer whose first taste of women's hoops was Clark's record pursuit expects fireworks every outing. If the narrative shifts to boardroom politics, they'll flick to Formula One or the NFL schedule release extravaganza. Attention is frictionless, loyalty conditional. The sport must convert curiosity to habit faster than executives can argue over who gets Thursday slots. The simplest answer seems the hardest to embrace. Lean into abundance instead of scarcity. Sell Clark's deep logo heat check and Bueckers' surgical pacing as complementary chapters, not competing tweets. Give Aya Wilson the same primetime push. Run advocacies on Sabrina Ionescu's three-point duel with Steph. Showcase Juju Watkins' TikTok empire. Fill the calendar with personalities until viewers feel FOMO if they skip any night. Because missing one means missing another viral moment. Nobody wonders whether Mahomes hurts Rodgers' Q rating. The NFL prints stars like trading cards and dares you to keep up. Until that epiphany arrives, we're trapped in an echo chamber arguing 0.8 Nielsen points like shareholders fighting over quarterly dividends. Geno will keep sprinkling side-eye quotes that generate think pieces. Clark will clinch more triple-doubles than the box score graphic can fit. And Paige will carry the weight of a dynasty's expectations on rookie shoulders made for jumpers, not politics. All 3 storylines deserve center stage. Only one currently sells out arenas on name recognition alone, but that shouldn't condemn the others to footnotes. Remember, gravity isn't finite. The NBA thrived once it realized Jordan's shadow didn't diminish Shaq or Iverson. It illuminated them. Women's basketball stands on a similar brink. Clark cracked the spotlight wide. Bueckers can step inside without dimming it. But the league must stop tugging at the dimmer switch every time someone new waves for attention. And that's the uneasy truth the 2025 draft forced into daylight. Star power can't be willed into existence, ratings can't be photoshopped, and fans have no patience for executive sleight of hand. Paige Bueckers is poised to own her moment, but the W's future depends on letting the moment breathe instead of measuring it against last year's fuel gauge. Because in a universe where remotes change channels with a thumb flick, the question isn't whether Paige will shine. It's whether the league will finally stop blocking its own son. Stay curious, because the next chapter, Paige's pro debut, Caitlyn's sophomore surge, Juju's arrival, might just smash every metric we've spent this entire story dissecting. And if it does, the only surprise will be that anyone ever thought the game needed gatekeepers to grow.